Hey guys, welcome back to the Betar Project. This episode, we have special guest Briana Bowley. Thank you for coming on. How's things?
Things are good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited about this.
I love that you reached out to me. How did you come across the podcast?
I actually don't know. Hey, I can't recall how I came across it, but I saw one of your videos and I was like, oh, I really like the way this guy asks questions. So yeah, I was like, I'm in.
Yes, I love to really plan my episodes. So
Yeah, beautiful. You
yeah,
ask some really like thought-provoking questions. It's cool.
yeah, especially the ones towards the end. I like to put the guests on the spot, get some really thinking.
Yes, I love that.
So I guess, well, I don't really know you, but for the listeners as well, do you want to kind of introduce yourself and where you're from and what you do?
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Briana Bowley. I'm from Adelaide originally. I now live in the Gold Coast. I'm a personal freedom coach. So full transparency, I'm in like the midst of an identity shift. So I would once upon a time have described my work as supporting high achievers in really creating more fulfillment, more freedom, more abundance in their lives. I'm now sort of shifting into I want to work predominantly with warrior women in helping them to really like build their kingdom. So that looks like, looking at the financial side of things, the career side of things, the relationship, the body, like all of it. So yeah, I've been doing that for, what would it be now, about 8 years. I love it to death. So yeah, that's me.
That's awesome. What was it like growing up in Adelaide?
Um, well, I guess I didn't really know anything different. I mean, have you ever been there?
No, I hear a lot of people put shit on it though. So
Yeah, it comes it pretty hard. I mean, it's like a big country town, really. So the whole thing, like everyone seems to know everyone. I mean, I loved it, but I also didn't know any different. Living in Queensland now, I'm like, okay, Adelaide is really small.
yeah.
But I mean, I want to change it. I'm stoked that I grew up there.
What were you like at
Yeah.
school? Were you a rat bag?
No, I was an angel. I was an absolute angel. Like I was, yeah, straight A's, quiet, always did what I was told. Like I actually remember looking at, like witnessing like the class clowns and being like, just shut up, like shut up and do your work. So yeah, I was a full goody two shoes.
And did you like complete school, finish year 12?
Yeah, I finished year 12. I didn't get what do they call it here in Australia?
The ATAR?
Yeah, I didn't get that because
Yeah, I didn't
I
get that
actually
either.
I actually did a hairdressing course, which meant that because I was studying that hairdressing. I think it was it was just certification, but it meant every Friday I was away from school. So yeah, I didn't get my ATAR, but I did finish year 12. So
And then you obviously went into hairdressing once you left school?
nope.
No?
Did my certification and went, fuck that. That's boring as hell. So no, I went into digital design of all things.
Oh, what was that like?
Too much. I enjoyed it, but it was too much sitting on my bum. It was too
Yeah.
much sitting in front of a computer. And I liked it when I had freedom to express whatever I wanted to create. But of course, when you're working with clients, they're paying you to do it their way. So I just got sick of people telling me what to do.
You seem like a very confident woman. Were you always this confident at school? The popular girl?
God,
Or
no.
no?
No, no way. I was, like I said, I mean, when I was young, I was very quiet, kind of like always in the background. And then, yeah, I mean, through high school, I was bullied pretty hardcore. It's only really been since I left high school and realized that I don't actually have to fit in anywhere that I've kind of really found myself. And thank you for the compliment, by the way.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's great to be your own unique person, isn't it? And
For sure.
growing up, you feel like you have to fit into certain groups and be a certain way and not be yourself, which freaking sucks growing
Sure.
up.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure.
Like I can relate to like growing up, I, kept to myself because I was naturally introverted. So, tried to keep to myself, had certain groups, but never quite fitted in with each group
Yeah, yeah,
until,
definitely. And that was me. Like I was the one who I'd coast between groups. And then, it wasn't until I kind of left high school that I was like, I don't need to fit in anywhere. I get to create my own thing And if people want to join in on that, cool. If they don't, cool.
Yeah, I only realized that last year from following Gary Vee and that, following a lot of his content. I'm like, fuck this. Who cares what people think? Let's just be my own person. And
yeah, for sure.
the amount of growth I've achieved in this last 12 months has been amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
So digital design, is that what you said you did?
Yes.
And then how long did you do that for?
It would have only been like 18 months, 2 years max. I mean, I did it. So it was a year-long certification. And then it was, maybe like another year of actually like kind of dabbling. I wouldn't even say that I was working as a digital designer. I was looking for a job and doing like just some stuff from home, some freelance stuff. So that was maybe like 6 to 12 months.
So it just wasn't really your passion?
Nah, just too much. I didn't feel like I had freedom of expression. I didn't feel like, I just felt like it was too much sitting behind a desk. So, yeah.
And then where'd you go from that?
From there, I worked at a cafe for a couple of years. And then, it was around then. I mean, at that time, I was in a pretty toxic relationship. Which through that relationship, I mean, he was on this quest to lose weight. And, at that point in my life, I was binge drinking and taking drugs pretty heavily. My partner was looking to lose weight. He kind of said to me, well, Bri, like I can't achieve this goal if you're out like eating Maccas for breakfast, lunch and dinner and binge drinking and taking drugs. So you've kind of got to, jump in this with me. So I was like, fuck it. So I joined a gym with him. Realized gym was my passion. Decided split up with him, and kind of gym was the thing that kept me sane during that awkward breakup period. And then I just had all these people telling me like, why don't you make a career out of this? So I went and got qualified as a personal trainer and massage therapist, and that's sort of been my evolution ever since.
Fuck yeah, that's awesome. Fitness it's a great industry, but at the same time, it can these days it can be very shit.
Yeah, for sure. It can be quite toxic. And I mean, we were having the conversation just before we hit record that, I've only really come back into the fitness world maybe the last like month or so. I mean, that's part of the reason why I've sort of stepped away and then I've come back and then I've stepped away and then I've come back because, the fitness industry can be quite toxic, and I've sort of been trying to figure out how I can operate in that world without getting caught up in the toxicity of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, because I was at uni studying sports and exercise science, and I was halfway through my degree, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? It's oversaturated, and you go on Instagram and you just see these chicks putting their tits and ass out selling programs. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, for sure.
So I dropped that. I said, see you later. So it is what it is. So personal training, do you still do that now? A bit?
No. So I was running my own business as a personal trainer, and then went into a business partnership and was running boot camps. And then from there, I kind of started noticing, like, I worked with a lot of weight loss clients who had like significant results, but I started noticing how much, even though my clients that had significant physical transformations, they were really struggling with like the mental side of things still. Like they still saw themselves as being overweight, or they still saw themselves as the person that they once were before they'd been through this transformation. So I started to notice that, there's a gap, like there's something missing. And so once I realized that, I started trying to figure out what it was. So I went down this kind of pathway of self-educating on all things mindset and, embodiment work. So a lot of somatic healing and Reiki and energy healing and, like everything from the really cognitive science-based stuff through to like super woo-woo out there spiritual stuff. That kind of got me into doing like mindset-based coaching with athletes, and then it's been an evolution since then.
I love that shit. I love how you're into the whole spiritual stuff. That's something I would love to get more into. I've kind of read a few books and that, but I can't really get the gist of it at the moment.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a rabbit hole, and I mean, the cool thing is the more I've dabbled in both the science side of things and the spirituality side of things, the more I realize that they're actually one and the same. Like science is now proving what the, spiritual community has believed to be true. It's now proving it true. So it's really cool. It's a rabbit hole. So I love that you're starting to dabble in that.
Yeah. Like, I love psychology and the brain and what the brain is possible of doing. And if you're in a shitty situation, you just change your perspective on something and a light switch flicks and you're totally happy or whatever, positive. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it relates so much in the fitness industry. Like you see these people who start 6 weeks in, they're not really getting results and they quit all the time. But if they just change their perspective as this is a lifestyle change, I'm going to start getting results, but I'm feeling good. I'm going to the gym. I'm eating well. It's just got to stick to it and have that positive mindset.
Absolutely. And I think it comes down to as well, like what's driving the person, what's driving them to want to lose weight? Is it that, they think that once they're a size 6 or whatever, that then that's going to make them feel like they're enough? Or is it something deeper than that, that they want to be able to live, they want to be able to, be as healthy as they possibly can because they have this big overarching purpose, or, it's really about what's actually driving the person to want to get the results.
And so many people just love to compare themselves to the Instagram fucking models. I don't know why.
And the thing is, you know what? The Instagram models don't even look like the Instagram models. That's what gets me.
Yeah.
Like I come from a fitness modeling background. I spent 2 and a bit years, competing as a fitness model. And I would remember that people would follow me on Instagram and, leave these beautiful comments, bless them, about how incredible I looked. And then I'd run into the grocery store and would be like, oh, you look like a normal human being. Because as fitness models, we're depleting, we are up on stage, with like ridiculously dark tan on, like all the stage lights, makeup, all of that. So we actually look completely different to how we do in person, and that's what people don't realize.
Yeah, and that's not sustainable either. Being at that low body fat, it's not healthy.
No way.
No.
Not at all.
So talk to me about being a freedom coach. How the hell do you help people with that? I'd explain it a bit more. Let's go into it.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, our outside world is a reflection of our internal world. So what I mean by that is what we see externally, like what we create outwardly, whether that be the relationship, whether that be the business, whether that be a financial situation, whether that be, the friendships we call into our life. All of them are ultimately a reflection of what's going on in our internal world. So our thoughts, our beliefs, the traumas or, the traumas stored in our cells somatically. And science is now proving that they say, as within, so without. And so basically the work I do is I first of all help people get clear on what they actually want to create themselves, like in an ideal world, if anything were possible, time and money weren't a limitation, what would their life look like? So that looks, that's going as deep as how much money do you want to be making per month? What would you want to make that money doing? What would be the career that would light you up? What do you want your relationship to look like? What do you want your friendships to look like? Where do you want to live? Looking at really, I guess, designing every single aspect of life and then identifying what the gap is. So what's the gap between where you want to be and where you are now? And then figuring out, well, what are the step-by-step things? How do we figure out what the blind spots are that are stopping you from getting to this point? And then we just work our way through, and that can look like, if someone wants to make a 20K month and they've got this belief that money is evil, well, then, of course, they're never going to create a 20K month whilst they've got this background story that money's evil. So it could look like cognitively shifting those belief systems so that they can create a new reality. Or it could be looking at, if I go with the same example that, they want to have a 20K month, it can look like systematically releasing trauma from the body that actually blocks that amount of money coming in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of. So is it a lot to do with, I guess, positive self-talk as well?
can be. It depends on the person. I mean, more than anything, and, this is the trap with the whole positive thinking mentality. A lot of the time people get caught up in trying to think positive, but as a result of trying to think positive, they're actually rejecting what they're really feeling, right? So like prime example, right? And I'll give you a personal example here. My dog died last week, right?
Sorry to hear that.
And thank you. And it crushed me. And when I told a friend of mine, he meant well, but the first thing he said to me was, has it made you grateful for life? Like, has losing your dog made you appreciate life? And I said to him, no, right now I'm just fucking angry at the world because I lost my dog. And he immediately said, well, how are you going to move through that? And for me, what landed in that moment was like, I could have in that moment pretended to be happy and be like, yeah, I'm just grateful for life and I'm grateful for all the time I got to spend with him. But the truth was I was fucking angry. Like, I was fucking angry that my dog died. And so what I witnessed so many people do is they try and actually reject what they're feeling in order to be positive and in order to, always come from this positive place. But in pushing down and suppressing what we're actually feeling, it has to go somewhere. So it gets stored in the body. And that's when, it's like I always think of it as, if what you're wanting to create for your life, if your life is a pipe and what you're trying to create is trying to flow through, but you've got it clogged up with all these negative emotions like anger or sadness or anything you haven't felt, then you can't have that goodness flow through. And so for me, in that moment, rather than trying to pretend that I was grateful and pretend that I was positive, what was most important in that moment was just feeling fucking angry and and I hope it's okay to swear.
Yeah, it's fine.
Allowing myself to, just fully be with the fact that I wasn't in a good place, that I was grieving and that I was angry. And as soon as that emotions passed, like I'm now a week later, because I fully allowed myself to feel the sadness, I allowed myself to cry, I allowed myself to be angry at the world. Now I am at a place where I'm genuinely grateful and I genuinely believe that it happened for a reason and that reason serves me. So, I mean, there are elements of helping people to think more positively, but more than anything, it's about allowing people to actually feel what maybe they haven't allowed themselves to feel before.
Okay. So it's actually a right to let those emotions out, because I kind of had the belief as, you acknowledge those emotions, but you don't let it take over your body. That's the kind of belief I had.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, both are true, right? Like, I don't believe in this or that. I believe in this and that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for example, like, again, I've had friends at the gym say, oh, how are you doing? Like, I know that your dog died. How are you actually going? And when I was in the pits of grief, there were moments where I was like, well, right now I really want to cry. Like, I really just want to let it all out. But for me, it wouldn't have been in that moment at the gym when I'm trying to get something done and I'm trying to, get through my day. It wouldn't be of service to me or anyone else if I just broke down into this ball of grief. And so the self-talk in that moment was, okay, Bri, I acknowledge right now that there's some stuff coming up for you. I acknowledge right now that there's a lot of sadness and grief wanting to come up. And now, and I promise we will look at it later. Now is not the time. Right. And so for me, that looked like going, okay, I acknowledge the feelings there. I'm going to put that to the side for just one moment. And then tonight or tomorrow or whenever, I'm going to come back to it, and then I'm going to allow myself to fully feel it. Because the truth is, any emotion, when we allow ourselves to fully feel it, takes maximum 10 minutes to actually move through. But all too often we avoid the feelings. And because of the avoidance, that's when it then becomes toxic. And that's when it starts to, block the pipe, so to speak.
Yeah. So it's basically about, you got the feelings, but taking some time, allocating time to then, be by yourself and then let them out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be by yourself. It can be with a trusted friend, or it can be, with a partner, or, whatever. But if we always, and this is where both is true, like as humans, we're both emotional beings and logical beings. And while in a perfect world we'd be able to feel all of our emotions all of the time, the truth is, like, we still operate in a world where we've got to get shit done. And so we have to allow that balance. We have to, allow ourselves to pick and choose, like, when is the right moment to fully feel what I'm feeling. And also at the same time, like, when we've got to get shit done, we've got to get shit done. Like, for me as a coach, if I allowed myself to break down into tears, whenever I felt something come up, I'd be useless to my clients. And so, sometimes it does look like going, okay, I acknowledge that feeling's there. I'll come back to it later, and right now I just got to get shit done. I got to be completely present here with my clients.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're very knowledgeable about all this. How did you learn it? Going to like seminars or programs?
A lot of doing it the wrong way.
Yeah.
A lot of figuring out what doesn't work. I mean, really, I'm my greatest teacher. My life is my greatest teacher. My clients are my greatest teachers. So yeah, more than anything, it's about kind of seeing what's worked for me, what hasn't, seeing what's worked for my clients, what hasn't. A lot of study, a lot of self-led study. Yes, I've done a lot of courses and invested in a lot of coaches to support me through my own journey. And then a lot of it's just intuition, like what feels right for me.
Yeah. Was there, I guess, a lot of stuff you had to deal with in the inside to now be the confident, bubbly person you are now?
Definitely a lot of demons.
What was some of those demons?
Oh God. I guess the same demons everyone goes through, the same demons of, am I too much? Am I not enough? Do I know enough? Am I smart enough? Am I pretty enough? Am I, all the things that every human being on the face of the earth faces, and like, when I say this, I don't say it from a place of like, I'm done, like, I don't say it from a place of like, I'm fixed, I don't have any demons, because every level has a new devil. And so, every time we kind of move through one challenge or one demon, the next one's waiting on the other side to keep us growing. So, yeah, still facing them, still loving the journey.
And how do you deal with those demons?
That's a good question. To give you a broad answer, sitting with them.
Yep.
Befriending them. Befriending them would probably be, the best answer I can give. Because, I mean, anything, our demons are always like, they're just parts of ourselves that haven't been acknowledged yet, and parts of us that want to be loved. And so, I think all too often we kind of sit there and we go, oh, I don't feel like I'm enough. So we either take that on as the ultimate truth, where it's like, well, because I have this feeling, that obviously means it's true. And then we hold ourselves back from reaching our highest potential because of that belief. Or we kind of ignore it and we push it to the side and we go, oh, well, like, I'm just gonna push that belief system out, rather than going, okay, like, that fear of not being good enough, that's actually that's a little girl inside of me who, had something happen to her as a kid, who's just wanting to be heard and just wanting someone to come and hold her and be like, okay, like, I see you, right? And so, it's about integration. It's about loving all sides of us, the parts of us that are confident and out there and charismatic and knowledgeable and all of those things, and also loving the parts of us that doubt ourselves and, are these scared little kids.
Fuck yeah. I love that we're having this chat. People listening and be like, what the hell is Chicks talking about befriending their demons? But it's so important, because so many people just hold on to their, I guess, stuff that's happened throughout their childhood or traumas. Eventually it's going to come out, or it's going to eat you alive. Like, you got to deal with that shit.
For sure. And that's the thing, like, what we avoid, we run into. And so the longer we avoid it, the more, it's like, I always think of it as, if someone knocked on my front door and I don't answer the door, they're going to knock a little bit louder. If I still don't answer, they're going to knock a little bit louder, right? Until eventually, like, we've got someone, like, knocking down the front door. And so, our demons are the same. If we don't answer the front door the first time, they're going to knock louder and louder and louder until we literally can't ignore them. And so, everything's just a feedback mechanism. So, if someone's facing a demon that might look like depression, or it might look like anxiety, or it might look like just doubts about their self-worth, then really sit with it and actually befriend it, because it's just you trying to tell yourself something.
Yeah. Let's get into it. What's been the shittest part of your life, or shittest time of your life?
Ooh. Shittest time of my life. Probably year 11 high school. That was that was a brutal year. Like, I had lost, over a misunderstanding, my two best friends. I didn't feel like I really fit in anywhere. I just really felt like I was just coasting through life, not really fitting in. Didn't know what I was doing with my life. I was using drugs. I was in a toxic relationship. Just very buried by my demons, really.
Especially at that fragile age where you don't quite know yourself, and you're very lost, and hormones and all that shit.
Yeah, it was it was hardcore. It was really tough.
Were you getting bullied hard at that time?
Yeah.
So what kind of shit were they saying about you, or to you?
I don't know. It was it was a really interesting dynamic, because at school I was part of the popular group, but the popular group at my school were really, I don't know, I guess it was turbulent. Like, it was like one day I'd roll up to school and they were welcoming, and it was like I was their best friend. And then the next day it was like, I was this piece of trash. And so, I guess it was a lot of, it wasn't bullying in the sense that, like I felt like I was completely outcasted or anything like that. It was bullying in the sense that it was turbulent, and I never knew exactly where I stood. Like, I never really felt like, even the people who said they were my friends, I couldn't really trust whether they were my friends or not. So it probably wasn't bullying in the traditional sense. It was that, my friends would talk shit about me, and then the next day they'd be my best buddies.
Typical high school shit.
Yeah. We're all, everyone, and like, even as I speak into this, I hold no resentment to anyone that was involved, because we were all just kids trying to figure out who the fuck we were, doing the best we could.
Yeah. But I think these days bullying can go goes too far these days, especially with technology. You can't really get away from it. If a group of people are bullying a certain person, it's very hard.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember going through that, having, like, people send me emails, like, aggressive emails, or bullying me through MySpace back in the day, so MSN, stuff like that. So I mean, even when I was growing up, it was still, technology was still, a way that people used to really bully and pick on each other. And by bullying, for me, it strengthened me. So I'm actually really grateful for the experience.
It would have been good if we knew back then that, bullies only bully people because they're insecure on the inside, and they're trying to push that onto you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, hurt people. Yeah. So no one who is whole or feels whole within themselves goes out and actively tries to ruin someone else's experience of themselves. So, for anyone out there who's being bullied or experiencing something like that, just know that it has nothing to do with you, and everything to do with the person who's doing it.
Yeah. We've got to educate the next generation about, having empathy, they are bullying you, but there's something going on with that person. They need help in some sort of way. It's hard.
Yeah.
So who are some of the people you've worked with being a freedom coach?
I've worked with quite a few athletes, world champion fighters. I don't know whether you follow UFC or Bellator. I've worked with a few UFC and Bellator fighters, glory kickboxers. A lot of athletes within the combat sports world. I've worked with a lot of women in business, a few men in business. yeah, I've worked with, God, I'm trying to think. I've worked with tennis players, AFL footballers, yeah, people from all different walks of life, really.
How'd that all come out, working with fighters and that, just networking?
Well, I got into, so after I quit fitness modeling, I got into kickboxing, and I was actually at the advice of my coach starting a fight camp. And, I was, obviously a fight camp is a very time, you have to dedicate a lot of time to it, right? So it's a big commitment. And I was finding more and more that I was trying to grow my business and I was trying to do this fight camp, and they were kind of conflicting, right? So I was noticing that the more time I spent in fight camp, the more my work was suffering. And, it was, they were just totally at conflict with each other. And so I started to question, well, which one's more important to me? And the truth was my coaching work, my business was more important to me, but I loved fighting so much that I didn't want to give up that part of my world. So I kind of sort of started to go, okay, well, this work that I'm doing as a coach, can it then translate into working with athletes and working specifically with fighters? And so I started dabbling in that. I started contacting, a few athletes and kind of, had a discussion with them about what some of their biggest struggles were. And then I found myself in contact with an Australian who was an Australian professional MMA fighter who was living in Las Vegas at the time and fighting in some of the American promotions. And we started working together, and the results she got were absolutely incredible. And then next thing, she got signed to the UFC, and so it kind of just happened, to be honest.
That's fucking awesome, eh?
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. Got to see her make her UFC debut in Sydney. So that was, that was pretty incredible.
Do you still work with some athletes now?
Yeah. I still work with quite a few athletes. All predominantly in the combat sports world. I'm not working currently with anyone outside of combat sports, as in the athletic field.
Yep.
All combat sports at the moment.
And then just normal like business women and stuff, trying to build them to be, strong fucking bitches.
Exactly.
There's nothing more, I guess, attractive than a woman that has her shit together and she's confident and, bubbly. For me, that's what I find attractive in a female.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the thing as women, we kind of, I find women do one of two things. They either try and be like men, they try and be strong like men, and they actually lose the thing that makes them, that makes them attractive, that makes them magnetic as a female, or they go the complete other way and they just focus on the fact that, they use sexuality to attract men and they become dependent on men, and they completely lose their strength and they lose their capability. And so, that's part of my work. I want to show women that you can be both strong and soft at the same time. And the more you allow yourself to be both, the more of a powerhouse you are.
Yeah. So many women are just showing basically their whole body on Instagram. Like, why do you wouldn't want to go there? You've already seen it all, plus all the thousands of followers.
Yeah.
It's annoying, but it is what it is. Hopefully we can educate them more around that.
Yeah.
So you're very open-minded by the looks of it and spiritual. What kind of stuff have you dabbled in, like, say, like magic mushrooms and all that stuff?
Oh, God. Okay.
I'm just saying it because I'm very interested in all that. And myself, I'd love to dabble in something like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in terms of, oh God, literally probably all of it, really.
Yeah.
I've done mushrooms. I've done LSD, ayahuasca, Cambo. And I mean, and then on top of that, more of, like I said, you're sort of real out there with stuff, so energy healing and, crystals and all of that woo-woo stuff. It all plays its role, and it's just, I guess, really finding what aligns with you and, rolling with it.
Talk to me about some of your experiences, taking some of that stuff and what was going on inside your head.
Oh God. I don't think what my most profound experience has been. Um, I remember, this is going to sound absolutely crazy. I remember on an LSD trip, feeling like I needed to stretch my physical body. And, like I was sitting there, like literally like doing this with my hands. And like, yeah, I was like, I need to make space in my body. And my friend was like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, like, I feel like my body is not big enough to hold everything that I am. And, you know, I guess I'm a big believer that, like you have the universe inside of you, right? Like I have the universe inside of me, as within, so without, right? As above, so below. And so, like recognizing that I am everything that has ever been, I am all of creation, as are you. That means that, I have a piece of, I have the consciousness of Albert Einstein and the consciousness of Cleopatra and the consciousness of Julius Caesar and, all of these greats within me, right? And so on this LSD trip, I was trying to stretch my body and I'm like, oh, like I feel like this physical vessel isn't big enough to hold the fact that I have the consciousness of Julius Caesar and Cleopatra and, Marcus Aurelius and Pythagoras and, all these like historical greats is right here within me. And yet I'm walking around in this tiny human body. And so, yeah, it was just this bizarre feeling of knowing that I was literally the entire universe and everything that has ever been kind of fit into this tiny little human body. And so it was like I was trying to make space.
Suppose you weren't there trying to rip your skin, trying to stretch it.
No, I didn't go that bad, but I was, yeah, it was actually a really frustrating experience. I remember being like, oh my God, like, why am I trapped in this tiny physical vessel?
How deep does taking those things make you go? Is it scary?
It can be. Yeah, it can be. But I guess, yeah, I guess it comes down to, it's always a reminder of surrendering. If you can just be with whatever you're experiencing and allow it to be exactly what it needs to be, because I believe we always get exactly what we need in any given moment, even when it doesn't necessarily look like what we want. The more we can just surrender and just let go and just allow the journey to take us wherever, then yeah, it's not really scary. But the more you hold on and the more you're like, fuck, like I'm not enjoying this, or, this isn't going the way I wanted it to, then it's that resistance that actually creates the fear. So it's a practice in trust.
Yeah. And what's been your favorite experience with it?
I've had so many. It's hard to name just one. I think there was a moment for me when I took my very first LSD trip, when I remember I was walking through a park and it was like I saw the world for the first time. Like it was like everything was so vivid and so clear that it was like, oh my God, I've been walking around with my eyes shut this entire time. Like I've spent my whole life not really seeing what was in front of me. And so, yeah, I actually remember bursting into tears at one point, because like tears of just complete gratitude for how insanely beautiful this world is. So yeah, that's probably a favorite.
So it just opens up like all your senses.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I guess you just see things in a way that you couldn't before. It's like turning the volume up on everything around you, and it's a totally surreal, overwhelming sensory experience where, like I said, you have to just let go, because otherwise it can get too much and it can be really overwhelming. But yes, it's really beautiful.
How has it helped you grow as a person?
A better question would be, how hasn't it?
Okay.
Like, honestly, like it's changed everything. Like, yeah, it's really changed everything. I think it's changed the way I see the world. It's changed the way I see myself. It's shown me that I see this much of reality. You know, I think as humans, we get so caught up in believing what we experience through our five senses. And yet, like, on this infinite spectrum of possibility, we see this much, you know, we see a tiny little fraction. And so realizing that has made me surrender and trust a lot more that there is something bigger than me behind all of this, and that I'm just a speck of dust, you know.
So you 100% recommend it?
I don't think it's for everyone.
Yeah.
I think it's
you got to be open-minded to it.
Well, yeah, and I think that, you know, like it's a lot. Like it's really I think I recommend it to everyone who is in a place where they feel stable. They feel like, I recommend it to people who feel called towards it and who feel stable, because I wholeheartedly believe that, you know, psychedelics, they bring out in us the things that we maybe are unaware of. And so, you know, if we're already in a really negative, dark place, then we're going to have the volume turned up on the darkness. We're going to have the volume turned up on the negativity. And so if you're not ready to face that, and you're not in a place that you can hold that, like when you have all this stuff thrown in your face where you can't escape it, if you're not ready and willing to really sit with that, then I can imagine things would go very wrong very quickly. So yeah, I think more than anything, making sure that if you're going to use it, then doing it from a place of stability and being prepared and equipped to handle whatever might come up.
Are they starting to use it as treatment for like depression and other stuff like that?
Yeah, I believe so. I think I saw somewhere in the US they're starting to utilize ecstasy, so MDMA as a clinical therapeutical resource. I can't recall where exactly. And then, I mean, of course, we look at medicinal marijuana and all of those sorts of things, you know. Yeah.
I think it's awesome that we're heading in that direction instead of the pharmaceuticals pumping all these drugs into people. You're not yourself when you do that. And it's just a Band-Aid fix, and it gets worse.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a place for it, but I do think that unfortunately it's just become a way to pump profit, you know, into the big corporations. And so, you know, time and a place for everything, but I don't think it's the only way. And I think that we get to look into other options and more empowering options.
Yeah, the whole pharmaceutical is corrupt. Like, you can go to a doctor and you say you're in a shitty mood and they go, oh, you're depressed, here's some antidepressants. Like, it's fucking shit.
Yeah.
That's why depression is such a big thing now, and I feel like it's being overused for no reason. When we're human, we go through shitty periods in life. Doesn't mean you're depressed.
Absolutely. You know, and it's there's so many levels to being a thinking, feeling human being, and so all too often, you know, and I think that we get prescribed drugs to deal with like this much of the human experience, you know, this tiny little piece, without considering, well, you know, is this person utilizing a healthy diet? Is this person, you know, what's this person's gut microbiome doing? You know, what's this person's, is this person surrounding themselves with a bunch of toxicity? Is this person surrounding themselves with, you know, the relationship dynamics that don't support them? Because I mean, I know for sure if I ate like shit and I didn't move my body and I surrounded myself with a bunch of people that didn't hold me at my highest, then I'd probably experience moments of depression too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's so important that we start to look at ourselves as multidimensional and not try and consistently go for these quick fixes.
Yeah, and people overuse the term as well, like, and they say, oh, I have depression, but people who actually have depression are not going to be talking about it.
Yeah, I agree.
So did you do all these psychedelic stuff in Australia or overseas?
Yeah, all here in Australia.
Okay. We'll have to talk after this about where you did it and stuff. I'd be interested.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I was listening to Mr. Hecker's podcast with you, the one that you went on. Were you living in your car?
Yes, I was.
How'd you get yourself into that?
Well, I mean, I was at a point in my life where my business wasn't as financially successful as I would have hoped. And I mean, I'm a traveler anyway. So I wholeheartedly think that even if I wasn't in the financial situation I was in, I probably would have ended up living in my car anyway. But I was at a point where, I kind of knew that if something was going to change, something big had to change, right? Like I knew that it would have been too easy for me to just keep coasting along as I was and kind of not really doing anything particularly extraordinary, but also like I was living comfortably, And I know for me, I'm the kind of person where when I'm comfortable, it takes something big to really make me step it up to another level. And so that's what my whole life has been. Like, let's go do something extreme so that life never looks the same ever again. And I'm forced to play at a different level. So I kind of made the decision really that it was like, well, yeah, like I want to force myself in a position where I have to start making more money, and I have to figure out how to make this business thing work. And I have to step it up and hold myself at a higher standard. And so, yeah, I made the decision to leave where I was living and move to the Gold Coast. And for a period of, well, how long would it be? Maybe like 3 or 4 months consistently, like lived either in my car or on a friend's couch. Yeah.
And what was it like living in your car? At least you could go from beach to beach.
Yeah. I mean, it was a blessing and a curse. Like I had some of my best experiences during that period of time and some of my worst.
You really learn a lot about yourself, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as with anything, like there's pros and cons. So it was this incredible freeing experience where, materialism just wasn't even it wasn't even a thought in my mind. And at the same time, it was really uncomfortable and it was really lonely and it was really, it was like, fuck, when is this going to end? And like, there were moments where I thought I was a total failure. And then there were moments where I thought that I had life completely figured out, So yeah, it was one of the hardest times of my life and also one of the most incredible times of my life.
How'd you turn it all around?
I don't know whether I can put it down to one thing. I mean, I road tripped up here to Queensland. I invested heavily in myself with my final bit of money. I invested in getting support from 2 coaches, and that introduced me to some pretty incredible people. And then, I just fucking figured it out. Like I just kept day after day showing up and I kept asking myself, who do I want to be and how would that person show up? How do I want to live and how would that person show up? And so, like when you're showing up as the highest version of yourself every day, it kind of can't not change, like it has to.
Well, that's awesome. Well, you seem to have fixed it all up now. You're living in a house. You're with housemates, aren't you?
Yeah. There's 5 of us here in this house at the moment.
What's that like? Does it get a bit chaotic at times?
Yeah, but I kind of like it that way. Like we all nip at each other a little bit, but it's all love.
What's something?
5 very strong. Sorry.
No, go on.
There's 5 very strong personalities in this house, and we're all very different. So yeah, it's only inevitable that we're going to piss each other off from time to time.
That's awesome. Keeps it exciting, I guess.
Exactly.
So what's something that I guess pisses you off about society these days?
That's a good question. What pisses me off about society? Probably, yeah, I think probably the fact that I sort of feel like no one's really themselves. no, I'm going to take that back. I'm not going to say no one's themselves, but very few people are themselves.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like everyone's so caught up in being what they think they have to be. But yeah, people just seem to be walking around with, you know, these masks on and faking it, really.
Yeah. For following society's, you know, norms of, you know, school, uni, job, kids, and then they're unhappy by the time they're 30, 40. You're like, what's the fucking
Exactly.
point?
Exactly.
Yeah. Such is life, I guess. Some people figure it out, some don't.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we're all just walking each other home. We're all just, you know, doing the best we can with what we've got.
Hmm. What are some of your favorite quotes? Or what's your favorite quote at the moment?
Oh, favorite quote at the moment. Find your center is probably a favorite. Yeah, and then actually a client of mine said this to me the other day, which I love, and it's I got you, babe. And it's literally like, it's like an affirmation to yourself. Like
Yeah.
when and I guess they're kind of similar. Like, find your center, I got you, babe. It's all about coming back to yourself and knowing that all you really need when you're really connected with yourself is you. Like, you don't need anything outside of you. And so they're both reminders that, you know, like when things are at their worst and when things are at their best, like, I've got me.
Yeah. It's always you. You come out in this world yourself and you leave this world yourself.
Exactly.
I guess with COVID and the tough times, what's a piece of advice you could give someone going through tough times at the moment?
Um, Take the time to get really clear on who you are and what you want from life.
Short and sharp.
Yeah. 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 Because we've all got the magic inside of us and we're always looking out here for the answer, but we've got it within.
Hmm. And it's a great time to do that as well. Like, so many people have so much more time on their hands. This is a great time to
Absolutely.
focus on yourself.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly believe that COVID is a blessing for that exact reason. I mean, that's not to take away from the fact that there's people struggling, but we always have a choice.
Hmm. Talk to me about personal development. Also, you do psychedelics and all that stuff. Do you read? Do a lot of reading. Do you do breath work in that?
I
Meditation?
sure do. Yep. Yep. Yeah, I mean, I'm not as much of a reader anymore purely because I don't know. I don't know why I don't read as much. I guess I went through a period of time where I was really just very hungry for knowledge. And I guess always unconsciously looking outside myself for knowledge. Now I kind of find that, yeah, I guess I look within a little bit more for it. And that's where the breath work and meditation comes in. You know, that stuff is that's my way of tapping into the knowledge that's already there, you know. Remembering the knowledge that's already there.
Yeah, breath work is so important. Like,
Yeah.
depending on your emotion, your breath's going to change, and if you change that breath, well, then your emotion is going to change.
Yeah, absolutely. And it allows us to, you know, drop into deeper states of awareness and bring up stuff that we maybe didn't know was there and heal through trauma. And yeah, it's incredible, you know, increased performance, all of it.
Hmm. How often do you meditate?
Um, Depends on your definition of meditation. In
Okay.
terms of, I mean, in my mind, everything is meditation. It's
Yep.
just, are we conscious? You know, like this conversation right now is it could be a meditation. You know, it's just, are we intentional enough to see it as one? In terms of sitting and meditating, like the traditional sense,
Yep.
not very often. I'm to be fair, I'm not much of a fan of it. Probably maybe once a week, twice a week. But yeah, I for me it goes against what feels truest for me at this point in my life anyway. There's been times in my life where, you know, I would meditate. I went through a period of time where I meditated, you know, 10 hours a day every day. You know, that was for a 2-week period. So I've been to both extremes, but right now what feels truest for me isn't sitting and meditating.
Yeah, I try to meditate, but I get too relaxed that I fall asleep.
Yeah, I'm like that as well. Yeah.
What are some of your hobbies?
Um, I always struggle with this question. Whenever someone's like, "What are your hobbies?" I'm like, "Oh, I mean, my work." And I know how people will take this and receive this, but my work is my hobby, and yeah, work is a hobby for me. I love what I do. So there's zero disconnection between, like people always talk about work-life balance, and I'm like, well, they're the same thing for me. Like I love doing what I do.
Yeah, it's different when you're doing something you're passionate about than like an office job or something where you hate it and then you go home and do stuff
Yeah.
that you love. It's totally different.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I mean, I guess my hobbies would be just continuing to build on my craft and continuing to experience as much of life as possible.
And smashing it in the gym.
Yeah.
What is your why?
My why is this is something, as I said at the start of the podcast, this is something that I've really been digging into new layers of. So my awareness at the moment of what my why is to inspire and to be the example for others to really like beat themselves, through the heights, widths, and depths of reality, of creation. And, I want my life to be a testament to my work and my work a testament to my life. So more than anything, it's literally just to be the example.
Who do you look up to or who inspires you?
I don't really think I look up to anyone as such, because if we're looking up to someone, we can't meet them eye to eye. If we're looking up, then we can't hold someone in our heart when we're holding someone above us. So I wouldn't say I look up to anyone as such. Who inspires me though? Preston Smiles. He's a mentor of mine.
Yep.
Who inspires me? Conor McGregor, the UFC fighter. Yep. Yeah, anyone who is out there like walking through the fire and showing the fuck up. Anyone who's stretching their edges inspires me.
Trying to be the best version of themselves.
Yeah, like anyone who's willing to go to the depths of who they are and go to the places they don't want to go. Like, yeah.
Fuck yeah. What's next for you? Where do you see yourself in the next few years? Do you have big goals for yourself?
Oh, yeah. We're going global, baby.
Awesome. What goals do you have? Where do you want to take, your freedom coaching and that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just expanding more and more of what I'm doing at the moment. I want to take this, I want to take it global. I want to have a global influence. I want to be in a position where, I guess my work can be the example for other people that the life of your wildest dreams is absolutely possible. And I want to use that platform to, I guess, be able to then have mine and all of mine and my family's and my peers' needs met, and from filling our cups, go and pour into other people's cups, whether that be charity work, whether that be, ecotourism, whether that be environmentalist stuff. I want to do it all.
Why not?
Hell yeah. We have the capacity to, so why not?
Do you have any ambitions, have a family yourself, kids?
What feels truest for me right now, and this could change, one day I would perhaps like to adopt.
Yep.
This isn't to take away from any couples that choose, or any individual that choose to have, a child of their own. However, for me right now, I look at the world and I see so many kids who are orphaned or, living on the streets or whatever, that it feels heartbreaking for me to even consider bringing in a child of my own whilst there's so many kids out there still suffering. And so I think based on where I'm at the moment, maybe one day I'll adopt. However, that could change, you know, something might shift within me where I decide I want kids of my own. I don't know. But right now, adoption would probably be, what feels truest for me.
Yeah, I've had a few people say that they want to adopt because it is true. There's so many people in this world and we're slowly killing it as it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my last two questions for you. When your time's up on this earth, what would you like to be remembered for? And what's your definition of success?
Beautiful. Okay, so what I want to be remembered for is just being an example of what it is to be a human being. You know, I want people to look at me and go, or, you know, look at my life and go, fuck, like she left no stone unturned. She allowed herself to really, you know, be with all of the experiences of being human, good, bad, ugly, you know, all of it. And I kind of want to be the permission slip for other people to go and do the same. What was your other question? What's my definition of success?
Yes.
My definition of success is personal freedom. So feeling like it's a feeling. Success is a feeling for me. Success feels like feeling safe enough within myself to go out and do whatever the fuck I want to do.
Awesome. And you're going to do that too. You're smashing it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
We'll wrap it up there. I guess for all the listeners who want to find out more about yourself, where's the best place to do that?
Yeah, I mean, Facebook, Instagram. They can find me on YouTube if they go down the rabbit hole a little bit. So, yeah, just search my name, Briana Bowley. It's spelled BRIANA BOWLEY. And I encourage anyone who is listening, like, I'm a real person here, so don't feel too intimidated or afraid to reach out. I love hearing from you guys. So shoot me a message or a comment and let me know what you actually took from this podcast. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming on. It's been an awesome chat. No, thank you for having me. It's been super fun. Like I said, I love the way you ask your questions. They're thought provoking and they're they're not surface level. So yeah, acknowledging you for what you're doing in the world. Thank you. That means a lot to me. My pleasure. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for listening. If you enjoy this episode, please tag me in your socials and like, share, and subscribe. Cheers, guys.